G'day. Many times in life we think about our various things that we deal with. That everyone's got problems. It's something I learned a long time ago when I was in hospital for 4.5 years. That if I thought my situation was bad, there's people that are a lot worse than mine. I mean, look what's just happening up in Queensland at the moment. It's a disaster. Especially through Christmas, a lot worse than Tracy. Anyway, look, I've got situations which have been unresolved for a number of years in a number of areas. One of those situations was that I got severely bashed while being a patient at Canberra Hospital, where I've got brain hemorrhaging and I've got almost no memory and I can't remember things, so if you try to teach me something, it's just not going to work. Very frustrating. I can't write things down, and Donna, a friend of mine down in Melbourne, and Jackie, a friend of mine up in Queensland, thinks this YouTube idea is a good idea. Anyway, getting back to some of the situations that happened, I got bashed in hospital and a guy kicked me in the head about 50 times and did a lot of damage to my face, and 3 reconstructive surgeries and 8 months or 2 months in intensive care neurology. And a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and I've got a problem where I have, in a large extent, my memory is shot, and virtually 3/4 of what I knew. On my father had 3 engineering degrees, so I paid a lot of attention, and I had, degrees in electrical, mechanical engineering, and also electronics and that. I had a fairly fundamental idea about computers and how they worked and how you could build them and all sorts of things. I've lost all those skills now. I had a shit fight with the ACT government, and particularly a lawyer called John Henry, who refused totally and threatened me and all sorts of things and caused my life hell. Was brought back to the ACT. My licence had set up in Queensland for 10 years without a problem. And basically, the companies that took on the contract after I at least got an admittance that yes, we do owe you money, and he offered me money at that point, we've got you. Took it to a company called Snedden Hall and Gallup here in Canberra, and basically they failed to represent me correctly. And even another law firm says that the decision's pretty low and that, and I've got to yet ring up that law firm that I'm using and say, excuse me, but I signed a contract saying that that's the end of it, but I was under a treatment order at the time. I should have had a minder of some sort making sure that the decision was fair. I have suffered greatly from it. My life has even got worse since then. I don't handle things very well. I've been further injured in a trucking accident when I was loading a load of concrete at Rockler down in Canberra. But unfortunately, cross-border and all this sort of bullshit, I'm not bloody covered. So there's no such thing as workers' compensation. I was further injured by the same trucking firm up in Queensland a month later. And basically they've walked away from me. I'm not living a very good life, so that's why I'm now in a desperation trying to post things on YouTube to see what the public, or if there's any lawyers out there or anybody that would like to give me a donation to help me fight a fighting fund to take on some of these court cases to get a fair judgment. I'm going for the wrongful imprisonment one, where after about 6 months of lobbying, trying to get compensation and decent compensation from the ACT government for all the head injuries and brain hemorrhaging that I've got, and a lot of other psychological problems that nothing's been dealt with, so I can get professional help. And also I believe I deserve compensation because they were warned 15 minutes before this guy attacked me that they had a guy in the ward who was going to try and kick someone to death, and over a cigarette he chose me. I think it's a huge wrongful duty of care, and I don't believe a person that violent should be put onto a hospital ward. Anyway, I'm very upset about a lot of things, so I'm taking things to court and posting things on YouTube so that people can understand that if I die or go to jail and never to be heard of again, these postings on YouTube will be there for the rest of life. The interesting thing is I posted one on YouTube on the Wednesday last week. It had 7 hits in 2.25 hours, and now it's had no hits at all. A number of my other sites got video uploads, got hits, and all of a sudden it stopped as well. A friend of mine, Jackie, up in Queensland, turned around and sent me a text message on Christmas Day. I never got it. The government involvement in bullshitting me is unbelievable. But the thing is, they've got a lot to cover up. Maybe if a lot of people ask questions about what's going on here, and why do people like Gillian Goddard in her off, when she's the opposition health minister, say that there's 17,000 people out there that deserve compensation of between $500,000 to $1 million for wrongful diagnosis and malpractice, and the fact that these institutions have destroyed their lives. If we can pay $1 million to an Indian doctor, who, in my opinion, was involved in the terrorist attack over in England. It was his SIM card in the telephone. Sorry, but something's wrong. If he can come here for a month or 2 months and get a payment like that, if a girl can be driving along, and another girl has had an accident, and she saw it, and I said, why didn't you stop? And she goes, she was at, come through a stop sign. She didn't say she tried to miss the accident. Well, within 2 months, she's got $50,000 cash. The whole system sucks. By the way, with that fire that happened in my house, the explosion, which is 2 weeks, it's 4 days after the Attorney General said you've got your Royal Commission. I was put in jail, Goulburn jail, for 4.5 months without a trial, right? Because it needs a trial. It has mentions where law is discussed, but it needs a trial where the judge actually decides whether you're guilty or not and you have to go to jail. Now, at the end of the day, that's another posting, but it had 27 mentions in the Magistrates Court, 3 in the Supreme Court, and 19 mentions in the New South Wales Supreme. 2 weeks out before the actual 2-week trial in the Supreme Court, in the Magistrates Court, where they had to prove they had evidence to actually run the trial in the first place. The judge actually deemed they had no bloody evidence, threw all the charges out, no case to answer for. And I'm sort of sitting there going, excuse me, but I've got a prison record and a min number that's affecting my life right now, greatly, and I can't find any law firm in this town to take it on, because they've all done sweetheart deals with the law firms, with the DPP and the AFP, and this is a major case. It's about, if that guy got $1 million for 14 days in jail, well, what's 4.5 months in jail in putrid bloody dry cells in Goulburn jail for 6 weeks, and all the other nice things that happens, and the people like Jomo Jamison that you meet, Donnie, who's, head of the crime syndicate in the New South Wales prison system and has done all the ATM robberies. I know so much shit, it's not funny, and one of those days I'll sit in a court of law and give testimony on it. To that I give you absolute sworn honest truth. Or maybe I'll enter into politics and it'll be part of my maiden speech. Have a nice day. Richard Churcher.